Previously on The Crown, we got the first Diana episode we've been dying for. She started a discreet relationship with a doctor named Hasnat Khan, and she also started sowing the seeds of maybe doing an interview with Martin Bashir at the BBC, thanks in part to her somewhat estranged brother. Let's see how that comes into play this week in this monumental episode of The Crown on the Lords of Grantham podcast.
We got 5 years stuck on mine. 5 years, what a surprise. We got 5 years, my brain hurts a lot. 5 years, that's all we got. We've got 5.
And we are back once again, this time actually recording in 2022. I know we're beyond the date to say Happy New Year, but we can say it and mean it this time. So welcome to 2023. How you doing, Corey?
I'm doing great. How about you, Dave?
I'm good. I realized that after our recording, since we recorded in that week between Christmas and New Year's and released it in 2023, we forgot to mention that January 1st, 2023 marks 5 years of the Lords of Grantham podcast existing.
Wow. Some people may say 5 years too long, but for us...
Oh, yeah. A few of our iTunes reviewers might agree. Maybe Julian Fellows.
Yeah, but we're never stopping. This is going to go until, I don't know, we really have no end point in mind.
I would say go until the wheels come off, but considering we review mostly period dramas, we go until they invent the wheel and put it on, put cars. You know, we're going from the horses fair. To the wheels.
Yeah.
To hovercrafts.
Until people stop listening to us, we're just going to keep going. And so far, it seems like people keep listening.
Yeah. Speaking of people keep listening, I don't know if we have any news pieces to cover, but relating a little bit to this episode, more to last episode, we got an email for the first time in a long time from a fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we got an email
sent to the wrong email address?
No, because it's relating to the crowd. It's the Crown. Okay. It's from Dania. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Mm-hmm. It's about Humayun Saeed, the guy who plays Hasnat Khan.
Oh,
and jumping right in, she says, so Pakistanis around the world were tickled pink when Saeed was cast as Hasnat Khan because he's actually a massive star, romantic lead, and well-known producer in the Pakistani film and TV industry. Very different from the average dumpy guy we get on The Crown. My mother grew up with him as a hero and Diana herself as a princess, so she was interested in Season 5, Episode 7 and nothing else. And she suggests that he's produced a few TV shows that have been hits, and should we want to go international, Pakistani dramas are deliciously melodramatic. So,
I mean, I'm always up for an international drama.
I mean, technically, we're American. We already are going international.
That's true.
But thank you for the email, Dania. And this is the kind of stuff that... And I responded to her that this is the information that we love getting because we know, like we are blissfully ignorant about a lot of these things. And I had no clue about this. So we hope your mom likes the episode.
To elaborate on last week, when we were talking about him. Wait, so the guy who played his name, what was his name again?
Hasnat Khan. No, Humayun
Saeed. So I think we did say he kind of looked like an average guy last week. They really kind of dressed him down for the part. Mm-hmm. He kind of looked like a frumpy kind of guy because he's a doctor. He's working all the time. I don't know if I made it clear last week, but I do want to double down. That dude had a lot more charisma than whoever was portraying Dookie earlier in the season. Whoever's supposed to be Diana's next love interest. I thought he definitely had charisma emanating from him, even as the doctor there.
No, he definitely had a gravity that I think. But I think Dookie at that point is supposed to be like the son who's a little envious of his father's, cult of personality. So I feel like I wasn't supposed to get that much from Dookie, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully next time we get to see them together, he's not just giving Diana a slight peck. I hope he's going all in. I want to see more of this doctor with Diana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just spin it off. Why can't we have spin-offs of The Crown where we just go off into different timelines of history and just have that? I mean, we spend enough time with the Queen at this point, right? We deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us more Camilla Parker Bowles.
And, I mean, to be honest, there's not much going on outside the world of the shows that we're watching this week. There's no news on Poldark, Downton Abbey, Gilded Age, or anything. Just all the news about Prince Harry, dumping on the royalty, which has been salacious if you've been able to read any of it. Damning at best and petty at its lowest, but all good stuff, fun reads.
Yeah, I watched the first 5. I have one left of Harry and Meghan, and
I kind of want to listen to his book. I don't want to read his book, but he narrates his entire audiobook. It's like a long podcast of him just dumping on the royalty for 15 hours, which I could sign up for.
15 hours?
That's an audiobook. How long do you think books are?
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, he says that William grabbed him by the throat and stuff and threw him down. He got frostbite on his thing down there. He details all of it. Everything you need to know about Prince Harry. It's in there.
I need to know about his frostbite.
Because he was circumcised, he elaborates. And it's like, whoa, who knew?
Dang.
Diana knew. What else did Diana know?
What else? Well, I was going to say, if we want to talk about Harry, why not talk about Harry's brother, William? And jump into season 5, episode 8, because William has a handful of scenes.
Yeah. This is the episode, in a lot of ways, the season has been building towards gunpowder. We finally get the interview between Princess Diana and Martin Bashir, and they don't entirely frame the whole episode within the interview. There's still stuff going on the sidelines, like you mentioned, Dave. A lot of time spent with Prince William in this episode.
Yeah. The episode begins. When is his first appearance? Is his first appearance with the TV?
Yeah, the Queen is trying to get the signal in on the TV, and he's trying to help her out with that.
And he says, "Why not get a big screen?" And she says, "This TV's like me. It's old. It needs to be updated."
When she said that?
Oh boy, I said, "This is what this show lives for. This is why this show's getting all these award nominations, because it just takes a metaphor and smashes you over the head."
So bad. Like they didn't need to make it so obvious there. I'm just like the TV, kind of outdated.
There are a lot of metaphors for me in this house. It's like, okay, so next episode you're gonna be like, the cutlery is just like me.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't stop there, because was it Prince William? He's helping her with that, and what was it?
He also gets the phone call from his mom.
Yeah. And she's just catching him up on where she's been. Tells him that she's in a new relationship.
Right now, just a friend, but maybe more.
And he's like, "Why do you keep telling me this? I don't want to know this."
He's like, "Don't get me so messed up at a young age that I'm going to get in my brother's face and strangle him later in life."
I don't want to know this. This is what you're doing to me. It's not like Diana's telling him anything, too, horrible. She's just trying to keep him on the up and up so he doesn't find out from someone else.
Now, I wonder if there's actual truth in the Diana William thing, especially knowing what we know now, how, like, Harry grew up into the rebellious sort of Diana equivalent, where he's, left the royalty, he's critical of the paparazzi and the system, because she makes it like she's attached to William, but as we've seen, William married a perfect bride.
Yeah.
He seems much more dutiful.
Right. I mean, as far as I'm aware, Prince William is always kind of skewed closer to the crown, and as they show in this show, a lot of it is his time spent with the Queen and stuff. So I can understand how they're just maybe embellishing a bit of the rift there, but I think they have dramatic license to take that there.
Yeah, and he's all. I mean, I just think timing wise, it's not a great. This is not a great episode to watch this week.
Yeah. But yeah, so things aren't great with Prince William. He's hanging out with Ma. we see the Queen talking about the Cheltenham, the Gold Cup that she got news that it's on Channel 4, and she's like, that's been a BBC program, and they tell her, well, Channel 4 has more news to spend on that kind of programming. Sorry, times are changing, Queen. And we get things nailed a little bit on the head in this episode because we do see William at school with a teacher teaching kids about Guy Fawkes.
Yes.
Now, Dave, did you recognize the teacher?
The teacher? No. Who was I supposed to?
Absolutely. He's from the Gilded Age. Blake Ritson. He is the older son that they're with the fancy glasses, who's a closeted gay man in the Gilded Age, who's they're trying to shack up with the main girl.
Oh, yeah. Well, he
Oscar
wasn't
Van
wearing
Ryn.
his signature, vampire sunglasses. So how was I supposed to recognize him?
Yeah, he's always dressed like a vampire in the Gilded Age. But yeah, it immediately jumped out to me. I was like, wait, why do they have this notable actor in this role? And then he goes on to monologue for an entire scene exclusively about Guy Fawkes and remember the 5th of November. He doesn't do anything else. He gets the bag, the paycheck, just to tell us about Guy Fawkes and crew and how they got hung way back when.
Yeah, how they failed.
Congrats, Blake Ritson, on that paycheck.
Yeah, probably a decent day's work for him.
Yeah. And Dave, they do get an upgrade at the house, don't they?
Yep, the episode ends with them getting satellites.
And how does that go over? Do they know how to use it?
Well, there's a remote with text on it, and as William gives it to his grandmother, and she can't quite figure it out, and she's just like, take me back to the BBC.
Not only that, she flips to Beavis and Butt-head and watches that for a small second.
And she watches, what's the music video she watches?
Oh, I can't remember the music video that she has on.
It's like an R&B song.
Oh, yeah. I kind of like the idea that the Queen is just fumbling around TV and just maybe actually watching Beavis and Butt-head on her own.
Imagine. I mean, it's not unrealistic.
Just think about it. She hits like the favorite button, and her favorite channel is actually MTV, and she's like, "How do I get off this? How do I get off this? So, someone else take the remote."
I need to go back to the horse racing.
Yeah. It's funny because the remote didn't look too complicated, but I guess it was a step
it's
above
compared to what it used to be. It is.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they're moving into a new generation there with the satellite TV. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what's going on with William. He's just hanging out around home. It seems like he's there more than he is at school. When they ask for him at one point, he's like, I gotta go to that class.
Well, he just gets like, is he in the room with Queen Elizabeth and the messenger guy comes in, Fellows, and he's like, hey, the princess wants to talk to you and it's urgent. He's like, I'm leaving. I'm done.
Yeah. Out of here. So where do we want to go after this? I mean, because the Queen stuff kind of intersects with everything with Diana.
Well, I think the BBC stuff and Diana kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because the Queen stuff is more just set pieces. She's not really super involved aside from her one scene.
Mm-hmm.
So we see this, what's the gentleman's name? John
Dookie?
Britt and Dookie.
John Burt.
Duke Hussey. John Burt, not Britt. John Burt is a Brit, though.
Yep.
Is John Britt's like the director of the BBC or some higher up? I don't know exactly what his title is.
Yeah, he's the director, and he is the chairman above him.
So Hussey is the chairman? Dookie?
Yep, as they refer to him, his nickname is Dookie.
So Dookie
Sorry, folks.
Dookie's friend is one of Queen Elizabeth's ladies in waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, in Queen Elizabeth's like tea club, Dookie's wife is top dog there as far as having a Diana's ear.
Yeah.
And we see that there's a little bit of a rift between Burt and Hussey from the get-go. Like there's a little bit of difference of opinion.
Yeah. That he is pushing for a program to celebrate the Queen. We need something to cheer her up, some positive stuff. We know she had a horrible year a couple years back now at this point. Things aren't great. Let's do something to celebrate her.
Yeah, and I think he keeps harping on the fact that he says, like, the BBC and the monarchy are the two things that make Britain Britain.
Yeah. Because there's all this pushing that Channel 4 is taking over. People aren't paying attention to the BBC. It's no longer relevant.
Uh-huh. And Bert is like, all right, man, like, keep talking. Like, keep, waving your hands and talking about how great you are. And then Dookie gets this idea from kind of sitting with his wife and removing his prosthetic limb to celebrate the Queen's 70th birthday.
Yeah.
All the meanwhile, we see Bashir, Hewlett, and Bert kind of tossing around the idea of exactly what the Diana interview is going to be.
Right. They're still trying to coax her into the interview where we see Martin Bashir talking to Diana where she has second thoughts, and he's telling her, no, this is the way. We're giving you, a platform here. Don't worry. It's going to be good for you.
Now, is this the bit in the car?
Yeah.
Where Bashir is like, well, Diana's like, yeah, I heard some of the stuff that you said. There were inconsistencies between your conversations. And
MI5 and MI6 are watching her.
yeah, and Bashir is like, could be both.
Yeah.
And
Don't
Bashir's
trust
like,
your brother.
I think they got your brother. And it's like, man, it's funny. We know now that he kind of lied about things to get what he wanted from her, rather to land the interview in the first place. But he is very slick, Mr. Martin Bashir.
I mean, they undersell it, and I'll jump to this. I was saving it for the end. But allegedly, he falsified papers to show to Diana that Prince Charles paid for an abortion. So she literally went into this interview thinking that Charles had cheated and aborted a child to keep it under wraps because Martin Bashir lied to her and falsified that to her. That's next level, terrible.
And they didn't even touch on that in this. You think they would, because
No.
they're definitely not pulling as many punches with Bashir.
It's almost like a little too devilish to believe,
Yeah.
Yeah, but they go through the great lengths of comparing themselves to Guy Fawkes. They're going to be recording this interview on November 5th, and they could be hung, for what they're doing. And he's like, no, they won't. They won't do that to you. Don't worry about it, Diana.
No. And I think, is it Dookie himself that gets Bert riled up to the point to agree to put this through?
Yeah, because we get an unnecessary scene of a shirtless Dookie on the bed. We see his prosthetic leg because he served in World War II and lost it. Mm-hmm. But we see the barrel-chested, the full Dookie on the bed there, talking with his wife about ways to make the Queen happy, and that's where that idea came up for the special. And he proposes it to John Burt, and John Burt had heard from Martin Bashir about this interview, and he's like, "No, we can't do that. That would be way off the cuff here." But then he talks to Dookie, and he's like, "You know what? Maybe we should do that interview. This is silly."
Yeah. So then there's another sequence of him going to tell Dookie that he basically says, "Look, we thought about what you said, and her 75th birthday is going to be such a big event that we are going to opt to do something different." And Dookie's like, "Oh, what? What are you going to do?" And he's like, "Oh, we got the princess."
Yeah, and he makes a fairly sound reason. Her golden jubilee will be in 7 years. We can just wait. There's no actual reason to do this right now. Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why make a career retrospective, then have to basically do it again?
Yeah. And so they do the interview, all while they're setting off fireworks because it's November 5th over there.
And they sneak in under the guise of being high-end audio, they're audio equipment installers, which is pretty clever.
Yeah. And so they do the interview, and John Burt, he goes to a hotel to see the footage. He's like, oh, man, is there any way to run this back? Is there any way to cancel this? He's like on the beach talking to him, like, we need to shut this thing down.
And he's like, no,
And
no,
Martin
no.
Bashir's like, we ain't shutting this down. And by the way, I forged more papers. You're going to go to jail if you don't air this thing. I wish they kind of went even further with Martin Bashir, where he just starts categorically lying to everyone and falsifying papers to get them to go under.
Well, he's like very honest with one guy and terribly, dishonest to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's like, I did it again. I made
help
up an
it.
abortion paper.
Horrible, horrible human. But yeah, John Burt's like, what have I done? Just tell me I won't regret this.
And one of the contingencies for even doing the interview is that Diana needs to be able to have an audience with the Queen prior.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, he told the chairman also after the interview happened that they were going forward with this. Like, sorry, we did this too late. But yeah, so Diana goes to meet with the Queen. Mm-hmm. Gives her a heads up, hey, this is happening. And the Queen is trying to set the record straight with her. Like, no one's been trying to make you feel miserable. We've been doing the opposite. We've defended you each time, loyally to the hilt. This is all a figment of your imagination, and they just want her to be happy. And one day, potentially be the next queen.
And I thought there was a certain sense of correctness from Elizabeth in this sequence, because she basically says, everywhere I go, people ask me about you. And do I ever slander you? And do I ever throw you through the mud? Do I ever do this? And the answer is always no, I don't. I defend you. I say you're part of this family. You're a high-ranking member of this family. And, Diana's absolutely right in a lot of her complaints. And you see a lot of these complaints now with Meghan and Harry. But
Yeah.
what the Queen is so jaded that I think that she's not incorrect in some of the stuff that she is saying.
Yeah. Well, I think also, and I don't know if they necessarily highlight it here as much, but Imelda Staunton plays it well, and that I think she honestly believes the Queen is doing all she can. And the Queen may have, I honestly thought she was being there for Diana as much as she could be. But if we just think back to the history of the show and where the Queen has landed in terms of what their policy is about things going on, she's always been on the side of do nothing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's the most important thing, is just to say nothing and just to kind of be present and just be like a steady force. So I wouldn't, be too far of a stretch to imagine that, you just look back at the history. They didn't really do much to besmirch Diana, so it seems. So in her mind, she may have thought that she was doing stuff to help Diana, but really that's just not enough.
Yeah, it seems like Diana, to pull a wrestling phrase, it seems like Diana screws Diana in a lot of these situations.
Just digging a hole for herself. But it also seems like she's also a victim of Prince Charles going out around on her and kind of just ending up looking like a fool because she didn't know about any of this stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I don't mean to say that Diana is morally in the wrong. I just think systematically she hasn't learned how to play the game, and she's just every time she boils, she just goes and interviews somebody and says some negative things.
And that's the cool thing that I'm liking about the season. They show Diana be a little bit flawed, whereas in season 4, they're I think almost a little too careful to approach her as she was too good to be true almost, and they really lean into that. But this season, it's a little bit more like she was a little bit impetuous with her decision making. It was easily manipulated, just kind of flailing a little bit post marriage. And it's so funny to see that, especially with everything going on with Prince Harry right now, where you could almost say the same. I don't know if you've seen some of his interviews, but some of the stuff he's saying is so off the cuff. It's you can see the anger, behind the words that he's saying, and you wonder, has he taken the time to really consider what he's doing? Because he says he wants to, fix the family, and one day they'll all be back together. But it's the stuff you're doing right now, man, you don't come back from that.
Oh yeah, yeah. But at the same time, you see
cry from Diana.
In the more hypothetical situation where Diana's sort of calling for help, and she talks about in the interview with Bashir her postpartum depression. And
Yeah.
one thing you see in like the Harry and Meghan documentary is she talks about her, depression and wanting to deal with a therapist. And they were like, oh, no, that can't happen because then the media will get a hold of it and everyone will think you're crazy or that you're unhappy. And it's not necessarily that any of that is true. It's a matter of everybody needs help sometimes.
Oh, and postpartum depression is so common. Like, so many of my friends have gone through that after having a child. Like, it is what it is. It's horrible that they try to suppress that kind of stuff. But yeah, they do the interview, and the big takeaway is there was three of us in a marriage. It was crowded. Even I know that line. That's like been bandied about as like the one takeaway about their marriage. And at the same time, the Queen and Prince
Philip,
not Prince Charles, Prince Phil, they went to go see Dreamgirls. That's the show they're at.
Well, it's their 48th wedding anniversary,
something like that. And
I mean that's one of the things
only.
that she says to Diana, the Queen, is that, oh, you want to have this air on my anniversary? Like, that's great. You want to have it announced on Charles' birthday or whenever she has it announced. It's like you're playing this game. Like, you are. You want to play dumb and you want to play coy and emotionally abused by the system, and then you are stabbing it every time that you are getting, like I said before, every time that she gets too worked up, it's some sort of lashing out rather than calculated or whatever, or just growing. Like, I mean, obviously we know from the show, Elizabeth and Philip had a lot of extramarital difficulties too.
Right. And yeah, man, it just sounds like the takeaway is being involved with royalty is a rough go. It sounds like, especially if you're an outsider.
Yes, I see. Yes, and Diana's white, so imagine how tough it is for our pal Meghan Markle.
Yeah, and then I mean, all this stuff has repercussions down the line. You can see this day with Harry, trying to live up to his mother, and then dealing with the fact she's not there. But so this news comes out on the show. We see actual like news footage of people delivering the details of the interview. And
we also see brief in the moment reactions from Harry, Camilla, Charles, Princess Margaret.
Prince Chuck is outraged.
Oh, he has Dominic West is making this guy seem like the heel turn is imminent. Not that he's not already a heel, but he's like, "Damn you!"
Yeah,
he gets loud. Why does this have to happen?
Especially with the question of, will you ever be the queen? And she's like, of people's hearts. It's like, man, she's got me. I'll never be able to be as good as her. And really that kind of wraps up the episode, and that it really ends on the note of where it started, where the TV is out of place, with the rest of the house, and now we're seeing just how kind of just not in touch the royalty is, because even Dookie, the chairman, Baron, what's his full name?
Duke Hussey.
Duke Hussey. He's sending in his resignation. He admits, like, I don't know about what's going on here, anymore. I'm so out of touch anymore. I don't belong here.
Oh, and Elizabeth's like, don't do that, and he's like, no, I'm going to do that.
I'm just not good at this job anymore. He didn't actually end up resigning after the Panorama documentary aired, but he did resign from the role a year later and allegedly did have a falling out with John Burt, and that was one of the main reasons why he left.
You don't say.
Don't know about anything, if it's true, about him wanting to have a special about her. That may have been an invention. But
all right.
To his point that he makes at the beginning of the episode, where he talks about, we're not trying to make any avant-garde TV or try and be the best thing out there. We're just trying to be steady. We see the Queen turning channels around, including the Beavis and Butt-head that we mentioned. We see car on fire and everything, and she's kind of almost disturbed by the images that she sees on TV. And it's just getting harder and harder to reconcile her place in the world, where everything is just spinning out of control. And she can't resign like old Dookie can.
Oh no, not at all.
Was this a good episode, Dave?
Yeah, I think it was a great episode.
Yeah, I think it was very solid.
Now, do we
And Dave,
think
Yeah.
Dookie enjoyed a few years later when The Office premieres on BBC Two?
Perhaps he died in 2006, so I don't know if he
Had his
was
finger
watching
on the
that.
pulse.
But you wonder, did he ever tune into Channel 4? And because that's what they reference in this episode as the competition. If you're not familiar, Dave, Channel 4 is responsible for giving us Big Brother, the Great British Bake Off. They've made a number of very popular British TV shows. So, yeah.
Wow, good for them.
Yep. And I believe, I'm not sure, I don't believe, no.
Uh-oh.
I
What
was
don't you
checking.
believe?
No, Downton Abbey did not air on Channel 4. It was on ITV. So even then, there was more networks out there that expanded after that because it's Channel
The
4.
Queen
And then
must
there's
have
all
lost
these
their
other
mind
channels.
over that.
Yeah. So, yep. And also, the one last thing about Dookie, he was a pretty well known to be a Tory, like Julian Fellows, very staunch for the government. So, yeah.
That tracks.
But mostly accurate episode for the most part.
Aside from omitting a lot of Martin Bashir stuff.
Exactly. So that's another quick episode. So I guess we can get to the power rankings.
Absolutely.
Well, who's going down for you, Dave?
Well, number 3, I got William. Because this kid's in school. He's trying to learn. But he's got to go hang out with his grandma, teach her how to use the TV, which as much as anyone might love their grandma, teaching anybody of a different generation to use your technology is never fun. And then he's got to go listen to his mom talk about her new boyfriend. And then she's got to listen to her mom go on national TV and say to the entire world that she doesn't know if he is going to be a good king in the future.
Yeah. Well, those are all valid points. Well, number 3, I got John Burt. This guy doesn't want to go forward with the Diana interview, goes forward with it, immediately regrets it, and he's just in a pickle.
It becomes one of the most important pieces of news media of the decade. So
yeah,
can't be that big of a L for him.
Just last year, though, he blasted Martin Bashir, though, or in 2021 rather, for his deceit of Diana. So I'm sure he lives with regrets since then. So.
Oh yeah, and God knows Martin Bashir wouldn't have gotten that Michael Jackson interview without the Diana one. So
absolutely not.
He really opened a lot of doors with that.
Yep. So who's number 2 for you, Dave?
Number 2, I got to give it to Charles. Because this guy's just sitting back, enjoying the TV. And his whole life is turned upside down because his ex-wife is running her mouth. He did this whole documentary to try to offset the damage she had already done initially. And she's like, no, I got more for you. Just you wait.
Yeah, I mean, similar to that, I got the royalty on number 2 because they all kind of get taken down by this interview. It's the first stone kind of cast at the glass house there, and everyone's kind of upset by it. So, yeah, royalty takes
Easy
a huge
enough.
L this episode. Yep.
Well, number 1 going down is pretty obvious to me.
It's Dookie.
It's Dookie. When you got that name, that's game over.
He's going down the toilet for sure.
Oh yeah, flushing him down.
Kudos to him for serving World War II and serving the BBC as best as he could. But it's not your time anymore, brother.
Yeah, you're out of touch.
Goodbye.
And you think you have this grand idea to make people, it's not just that he's an old guy who's out of touch. He's an old guy who's loud about how he believes he's in touch.
Yeah.
And then he takes the biggest L of all time. And that's it.
Right, because we have to sit him monologue there for the opening of the episode and then just get proven wrong throughout the rest of it.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
Nope. So, yeah, that's that.
Indeed. Who do you got going up?
Number 3, I got Martin Bashir. And part of that's because I already gave him his flowers last week. He secured the interview. This week he just gets it done. He's a piece of trash, but just noting that, he had a good week.
Okay. Well, number 3, I got Queen Elizabeth.
Okay.
Because I think that it's her wedding anniversary. She has to go to the show. She has that verbal smackdown towards Diana, which I think is not without its pros. Not to mention the character doesn't leave as a total L. And she gets to spend some time with her grandson. And considering, I think that I think one of her big issues is she doesn't internalize things in her family. And we have yet to see her internalize this interview in this episode. So good on her for being a little Miss Stoic the whole time.
I have her number 2 for just going out there and doing it. Sometimes you just got to shoot from the hip. And that's exactly what she did. So, yeah, good for Diana. She did it. Get it off her chest.
Yeah? Wait, you're saying Queen Elizabeth? Is that your number 2 for that?
Yeah, number 2.
Okay.
No, Diana is. Diana, I said. Diana's number 2.
Okay, Diana's my number 2 as well.
Oh, wait, so Queen Elizabeth was your number 3.
Yeah.
Oh, so Princess Di. Gosh, man. Darn. Okay.
Diana, she did it. She didn't have regrets. She handled it responsibly. Even though I think, whatever you want to say about the Diana versus Elizabeth morality play, she aired her laundry on TV, but she did tell the person who would be victimized the most by it to her face that it would be coming. It was not a sucker punch.
Solid number 2 for Diana. Number 1 for me, because I couldn't give it to Bashir, it's just the BBC. They end up winning. They get the viewers on the Panorama interview. They're staying caught up with the times and stuff. It's a good week to be part of the BBC.
Okay, well, I'm not too petty to not give it to Bashir. So
Okay.
he lies and cheats and steals his way to the top. This is his week.
Yeah. So the person he claimed that aborted the baby was Prince William and Harry's nanny, Tiggy Leggy Burke. And yeah, in September 2021, they announced that she was going to get paid a 6-figure sum in damages for his accusations against her.
Wow. That's great. I mean, good for her.
Yeah, she lost her job because this piece of trash got her reputation destroyed because of him. So, get out of here, Martin Bashir.
I think if we were to do the math, she's probably owed more than 6 figures. High 6 figures at the minimum.
Yeah. And you know what's the funny thing is, the guy who played Martin Bashir on the show, he also played Martin Bashir in the Princess Diana movie from 2013 that had Naomi Watts in it. It was allegedly, or supposed to be very terrible. All the reviews are wrong. But he said it was good to have a second chance to play Bashir because most of his role got cut in that movie. And also he just has more knowledge of what kind of character Bashir is now versus 2013.
Interesting.
He wasn't as great as he was supposed to be.
Why would they do that?
Because he looks like the guy.
Okay. Yeah, he does look like him, and he is good.
Yeah. So, there you go.
Yeah, well, that's that. I'm shocked you didn't give it to Blake Ritson. Give him some positive points for
I mean,
doing
he got his
job
paycheck.
well.
He doesn't need any more praise in the rankings here. So,
Sure.
yeah. So, Dave, have you been able to watch anything else?
Well, I guess I was going to say no because we were at a game convention together all weekend, but in the week prior and in the day or two since, I've been watching this new season of The Circle.
Oh, yeah. How are you liking it?
I love it. I mean, I think it's been a good enough amount of time. I think one thing with The Circle was we got a lot of it very quickly. We got like season 1 and then the Brazil and the France and all the, spin-offs and whatnots. And then I think 2 and 3 kind of, 4 is good. And this one is 5. And I'm not all the way caught up, but I really like these new characters. I think there's a lot going on. Let a meat on the bone.
I want you to finish the season and then tell me if I should
Okay.
catch up.
Sure.
And how it ranks. Yeah. Because it's so much time to invest in these hour-long reality show episodes.
Yeah, and I will say that some of the episodes, some of the seasons rather, are absolutely forgettable. So where we are right now, I think some of these players are very memorable. So what about you, Corey? Anything you're watching? Singles Inferno?
Yeah, the finale just came out today. Can't wait to watch it. I'm so eager. But you know, this Netflix reality shows, it's like a blessing and a curse. You always wish there's more time on these reality shows to see these people interacting, but then it becomes like, man, it's a long hour just to get to where we're headed to either way.
That's right.
But yeah, eager to watch that. And then I've been making time to watch Fleischman is in Trouble on FX. The Jesse Eisenberg show, Claire Danes and what's her name from the Masters of Sex, Lizzie Kaplan. And yeah, it's good. But you know, on that topic of postpartum depression, it just had one episode recently that knocked my socks off. It was incredible. I think it's getting slept on because it's very small potatoes in terms of drama and stuff, but it's pretty good. It only like 8 episodes, yeah. So.
All right, interesting.
But that's it, man. Haven't had time for anything else.
Oh yeah. Well, thank God the Crown is so low effort to get through. It gives us more time to put into other parts of our lives that, you know, might take a little more importance sometimes. Thank you, Diana.
Yeah. Time with Prince Harry. That's where
Oh
we're, that's
yeah,
where we're putting some of
absolutely.
our time.
15 hours.
Yep. But yeah, you know where to find us otherwise on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, lordsgrantham@gmail.com. Please feel free to write us. We'll get back to you.
Thank you for that email, Dania, earlier.
Yeah. You can subscribe to us on Patreon if you so choose for some bonus content. Leave us a 5-star rating and review if you so choose. I saw that someone updated their review recently to ask us to watch Only Murders in the Building. I mean, it takes place in New York. It actually takes
Doesn't
place.
really fit our mission statement. Maybe some Patreon coverage if there's enough interest. Yeah, throw some Patreon money. We'll cover Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my area code. It's not too far flung for me. So
just like the Gilded Age.
That's true. Well, the Gilded Age is it's on the east side, so not quite my area code, my zip code.
Okay.
But yeah, you know where to find us, and we'll catch you next time on the Lords of Grantham podcast.